First flag is what we've always called the religious flag. We raised it in Mind of a Fox, which was a book we wrote in June 2001, and we said that the Middle East is going to become more divided as a result of this flag, and certainly this has happened in the last year, and obviously that can impact a lot of industries, including the oil industry in the Middle East. And Trump's decision to withdraw from the Iranian agreement could mean that oil goes through $100 again, and that could restoke inflation in the world. The other flag, which is interesting, is we call the grey flag, which is the aging of Europe and Japan, and the fact that those two economies are really destined to have a low economic growth rate, while America, which is a young and more resourceful nation, will continue to grow at around 2 to 3%. China, meanwhile, is still growing at 5 to 6% and will probably overtake America to become the largest economy in the world by the mid-2030s. So this is China's century. Last century was America, the previous one was Britain. The biggest flag is what we call the anti-establishment flag, the growth of populism in the world, which means that in Europe and in the UK, you've had Brexit, and now you've got populist movements and governments in Europe, and this of course is leading to fragmentation and is a force against further globalization. So it's a tough world. It's a tough world out there. South Africa, we have 6 flags to watch. The first is around corruption, crime, and is Cyril going to manage to turn that around? We'll have to wait and see, but certainly his initial moves are positive. The second flag is around growing the quality of our infrastructure and the quality of our education. This is long term, but of course we now have Pravin Gordhan in charge of the state-owned enterprises, and he's already making moves to improve their efficiency. The third flag is around leadership style, and Cyril is certainly showing the kind of style that Mandela had, a more inclusive style of leadership, and that is very necessary because you cannot win in the global game if you're a divided nation. The fourth flag is around pockets of excellence, and we have plenty. We're in one right now in Hyde Park. You know, we have these incredible world-class businesses in South Africa, and what we must not do is dumb them down. We have to replicate them, so we've got to watch that particular flag. The fifth one is the most important one. It's around entrepreneurs and small business, because work has changed, and you want to create 5 million jobs in South Africa, you're going to have to create 1 million new businesses. So we should have a business summit, not a job summit. How can we create economic freedom for black entrepreneurs is the principal question, because we still live in a siloed economy where it is very difficult to get out of a township business into a mainstream business in South Africa. And the last flag is the most incendiary one. It's land and land reform, and Cyril's got to handle this one carefully, because in the worst case scenario it could even lead to civil war. So we have to find a way of redistributing land in this country, which has to be done, but in a way that has cooperation from the farmers and from all other stakeholders. That gives us 3 scenarios for South Africa. The Premier League, where we stay in the Premier League of Nations, we stay as the #1 economy in Africa because Cyril manages to change the direction that we've been in over the last 5 years under the previous leadership. The second scenario is second division, where he simply can't overcome the forces that surround him, and we go on downhill. And we call that second division because we get relegated from the Premier League. The worst scenario is where violence breaks out all around South Africa and we become a failed state like Syria or Somalia. With Cyril's accession as president, we now give a 60% probability to Premier League. We give a 30% probability to second division and a 10% probability to failed state. Before Cyril came in, we were giving 60% to the second division. So we flipped those 2 probabilities. We now think the favourite scenario is staying in Premier League and that Cyril will actually do the job.